In this section, I'm going to show you how to manage your repository passwords in Restic. I'll show you how to store your passwords so that Restic can automatically authenticate without you having to manually put in the password. I'll also show you how to add, remove, and change passwords. So right now, anytime I want to access the repository, we're going to be prompted to enter our password. One way we can store our password so that Restic can automatically authenticate is to save the password in a text file. So I'll create a file here and just call it password and put the password. Then when you want to access the repository, say in a script or a task scheduler or in the command line itself, you can simply just do the command and then supply the password file option and point to the file of the password file. And then you won't be prompted to enter the password. Now you may be wondering if this is a security risk. Well, if you already have the machine set up to run automatic backups anyway, it's going to need to have access to the repository and the password. So as long as it's a trusted device that you're going to use for automatic backups or your own personal machine, then it's not a problem. I'm going to go ahead and delete this file and show you the preferred method of storing your passwords with Restic. The preferred method is to use the environment variable Restic password. So we'll go to our system settings, environment variables. You can also do this by going to Windows settings, about and advanced system settings. So I'll go ahead and add a new environment variable and call it Restic password and type in our password. Go ahead and restart your terminal, and now we should be able to do Restic snapshots, and we don't have to put the password file option. There is also, if we go back here, you could also do Restic password file and point to the file of that text file that you put your password in. So I'll go ahead and undelete that file and put the path to it, save it out. We'll go ahead and open the terminal and run that command again. And again, no prompt to password. If you have a lot of repositories with different passwords, the best option is to store these passwords in the text file and use the password file option in the command itself to access those repositories. Otherwise, using the environment variables is the best option. Inside of every Restic repository is a folder called keys. This is where your password keys are stored. We do Restic list keys. It will show you the full ID of all your keys stored in the repository. If we do key list, I know, very confusing. It will show you similar information, the key ID, but shorter, the user, host, and the date created. This asterisk next to the ID means that this is currently the password being used to access the repository. Let's look at changing our password. We'll be using the key command for managing our passwords. So to change the password, we can do key password or PW, pass PW, and then it will prompt us for our new password. Now, we have our password stored in a text file here, and it is using a password file to authenticate. If you don't have that set up, it will ask you for the repository password before prompting you to enter the new password. So I'll go ahead and change this to Solaris, and then go ahead and change it here. It's been updated. Let's go ahead and run snapshots. And the changes took place. Let's look at adding passwords. So we have one key here, or password key. Let's go ahead and do key add. We'll type it in. And just like that, a new password is added. we do list, we see we have 2 passwords or keys. And this one right here is what's being used currently to authenticate. When adding a password, you can also specify things like the user and the host. So if we do add an user option, we can supply a user, you can set the host, maybe laptop, and we can even specify a password file, which will tell Restic where to read this password from. And my number pad is not on, so let's try that again. And if I do key list again, we have our new key setup. Now, me personally, I usually just stick to having 1 password for each repository, as I'm the only person to access these backups and the only person to access all the devices on these backups. Let's go ahead and clear the screen here, and I'll show you how to remove these passwords. If we do key list and bring up our list of keys, we can identify the passwords that we want to remove by looking at the user, host, date created, and the IDs. Let's go ahead and remove these 2 IDs. We'll do the key remove followed by the ID. And that key is removed and we see it gone from our key folder. Go ahead and delete this one. Not like that, but like this. Key remove and the ID of the key. And it's gone. One last thing I'd like to mention before ending this section is the master key. The master key is a key that's generated when the repository is made. This key cannot be changed. Your password keys are used to decrypt this master key. If you remove the key that was shared to another user, they may still be able to read the data from the repository if they copied that key prior to you removing it from the repository. In such cases, the solution is to simply copy the repository, which will generate a new master key. While this is a situation most users will never encounter, I did feel it was important to mention. And there are 2 posts from the Restic forum that goes into more detail about that. In the next section, we'll be looking at listing snapshots, files, and folders in more detail.